Hello, I'm Valerie Hale. I want to introduce you to my podcast, which I have been creating for over 3 years now. The reason is because it's very unique in many ways. While it's called Wealth Yoga Wine, it is only 10 minutes in length. Very rarely do I go over 10 minutes. If you're not a podcast listener, here are some of the benefits to listening to my podcast. One, what you would benefit from listening to my podcast. I believe in DIY, do it yourself, self help. I also believe that the three topics can fit a wide genre of audiences. I'm also going to share with you how I started the podcast because it was during the pandemic. Lastly, I'm going to help you either follow the podcast or how to subscribe because it's a little tricky. The reason I started the podcast, it happened during lockdown. Yes, our pandemic. I lived in New York right before the pandemic. I was a French wine expert. I was La Chatelaine of the Petit Chateau, my French themed bed and breakfast. I transferred myself to Florida and the pandemic happened. My mentor said to me, because basically everything shut down in my former career, she said, Valerie, what are your assets? Well, I have been a public speaker for over 30 years with Toastmasters all over the United States. My greatest asset is my ability to be a public speaker, selling my own business, selling French wine, and helping others with public speaking. Therefore, Wealth Yoga Wine was born. I chose those three topics because I study with Mary Morrissey, Dr. Price Pritchett, Wayne Dyer. The essence of wealth is really abundance. It's prosperity in our lives. It's not about your bank account. No. It's about an abundance of friends in your life, perhaps intrinsic relationships, your vocation. Are you happy with your career? That's what I talk about, and I always relate it to some of those gurus of transformation. Then I segue into Kundalini yoga because I have studied Kundalini yoga every day for 30 years, over 30 years now. There are links on my podcast with free virtual classes with one of my favorite teachers, Howard Prakash. I've studied with her in New York. They're free. Lastly, I segue into the wine industry. I always talk about food and wine pairing. I talk about wines that you can find. They're not cult wines. Sometimes I do talk about cult wines only because I know you can find them or I can help you find them. That's why I would love to have more listeners, would love to have you subscribe and follow. The instructions are going to be in the details for this video. When you go to Apple or Spotify, Apple has three little dots up on the right-hand side. Just click on that. You're automatically connected. You get no emails from me. You won't get any emails from Apple. You'll get notifications. But the link that I give you takes you directly to my podcast. Spotify is a little trickier. You just have to go down to find how to follow. Again, those links take you directly to my podcast, though, so it's easy peasy. If you're just starting out listening to podcasts, take a dive into mine. It's short, sweet. It is absolutely self-help, DIY. Oh, no commercials, no advertising, nope. So it's easy listening. You will learn something that will improve your lives every day. And I would really love to have more subscribers so that I can find out what else people would like to listen to. Merci, au revoir.